Namaste. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana. I'm an intuitive reader and healer, and today I'm here to carry on with the card comparison series. This, I believe, is the fourth video, and my intention is to continue this series ongoing as your requests come in. I have a long list of cards that you would like me to compare, and so each Tuesday I will come back and do another comparison. I'm going to focus on the minors for a little while, and I might throw in some majors soon. So keep your requests coming in either in the live chat today or in the comments below after the video. And yeah, so I'm excited to hear from you, because sometimes the cards that people struggle with are obvious because there's common ones, but there's some other issues that have arisen in some of the conversations that we've been having. So please don't hesitate to put your requests in, okay? Today we're going to talk about two of the fours. We're going to talk about the Four of Spades, which is the Four of Swords, and the Four of Hearts, right, which is the Four of Emotions, the Four of Cups. And I want to say hi to Shannon. Nice to have you here and alive. And through Integrative Lens. Hello, welcome. Hi, Mary Beth. Good morning. You're not working today. Okay, well, that's excellent. I'm glad you're here, and please join in the conversation and offer your wisdom as well, too, as we look through these cards. So I'm going to turn the camera to the cards, and so we can have a really good look at what's going on here. And on the banner, I just want to mention that tomorrow is the final crystal class that I am teaching. And this is really my heart and passion. And if you're interested in working with crystals in awakening, chakra, medicine kind of modality, this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow in my crystal class. And you can just buy that. You don't have to have been a part of the whole series. You can just buy that one class. And so that's tomorrow night, Wednesday night, after my live in the Facebook group. And the links for everything are below in the description box. Okay, so let's go to the fours. Hi, Diana and Joseph. Welcome to everybody that's coming in. Fours. This is one of the important, I don't know, there's something about the number four that's really important to understand in the tarot, and that it is such a strong number. And okay, so let's go back. We've been looking at some really challenging cards. Last week we were talking about pain, we were talking about transition. And today we're going back one number. We're going back to the number four. This is the number of foundation. And so if you do read tarot, think about the energy of the Emperor card and what that brings into a reading. And think about the strength, the aspects of control, and actually think about the shape of what is created with four pieces, the square shape that's created, whether that is a geometrical shape, whether that's a cube, whether that is a room in a house. There's a structure that's built with four, and there's a solidity to the four. It creates a container. And it might be actually a good idea to next week hop over and do the other two fours as well too, and then we could compare that. And I'm just thinking of a particular four, the Four of Wands in the Way Home Tarot, which is one of the decks we're going to talk about today, which creates a container of roundness instead of squareness. So that's a really interesting aspect of that deck. Anyway, today we're doing air and water. And we're looking at what happens when we create a container, when we create structure around air and structure around water. And I don't know if you've ever thought about that in response to these two cards. When water is contained, so let's start over here with the Four of Cups. What happens when water is contained? So we have containers of water, right, for drinking. Sometimes we need a container to bathe in or to wash. There's lots of positive reasons for containing water. But when water becomes contained for a period of time and there's no fresh water flowing in, this is when issues can arise. And for me, the problem with working the problem working with a straight up Rider-Waite-Smith deck is that sometimes the images paint us into a corner and we tend to read the card only in the negative. And I don't see any of the cards in the Rider-Waite-Smith or their clones, or any deck really, completely in the negative or in the positive or the light or the shadow. Choose the descriptor that you like. There's aspects of both hidden within each of the cards. And so we have a container here for water and what looks like water that's been contained a little bit too long. There's other things that we can look at as well too, and we're going to look directly at the images and the way the images are painted. What the container for the swords has created on the left is a bed. It's created a place, a room. It's created a safe place to rest. Maybe this container has created some quiet away from the busy world. Okay, so containers create all kinds of things. And sometimes those spaces that are created with the energy of the number 4 really feel nourishing and supportive. And it's exactly what we need. Because we need a break, we need to get away, we need space, and we need to feel safe. And I think that is a really big key word with the number 4s, is the whole issue of safety, right? So sometimes we just need that big exhale breath. We need somebody to look after us, and we need to feel safe. And when I am reading any of the cards in the tarot, back of my mind, I'm running through all of these associations with the numerology, because the numerology does play into it. And I never read cards in isolation. Rarely do I do a one card draw. And so it's really important to take an overview of all of the numbers that are present in the card. Okay. Hello to Andrew. Yes, and Andrew, of course, holding space is another beautiful way to describe what I'm trying to get at here. Hello to Katie. Okay, yes, and I love through integration lenses word as well too, protection. The whole idea with protection and safety is a very root chakra kind of energy. And that's what the emperor provides. That's what the emperor provides for his empire, for his community, for the staff, right, in the castle, whatever that emperor is that you're referring to. So let's go and look at some of the details of the cards. And I want to compare the energy, but also the different resting qualities and the different contained qualities of these two. Notice also, this is something that's really important for me, is indoors and outdoors, because there's a different energy about being outside as opposed to being inside. How do you feel when you're inside? How do you feel when you are outside? And that's personal. That's very, very subjective. This little image here is really, really important to me if I'm reading a RWS style deck, because this is a little piece of the Ace of Cups. And if an Ace of Cups showed up in a reading, I'm definitely going to read this a little bit differently than I might if other cards come up in a reading, because this is the cup that's being offered in the Ace of Cups, or some variation of it. So something is being offered to this being, this soul, who is leaning up against the back of a tree. And we have this strong emperor energy here with this tree. You often see the emperor depicted as a solid, strong tree. The emperor is an evergreen tree and the empress is a deciduous tree, something like that. And so this person's spine back is leaning up against something really solid, right? There's support here. They have support and something is being offered. So why are they choosing not to receive the gift? Gifts don't just hang around. If you don't take it, somebody else will. And this is one of the cards, and there are several where gifts are offered, and we have a choice to receive it or to figure it out on our own. And so that's another little layer here. There's nothing particular that's being offered here. So that's a very different energy of these two cards. So the one on the right has an offering, the one on the left doesn't. This person, generally speaking, is in some kind of, well, we are both in a resting position. This one is lying down on his back or her back, and they're seated in this posture here. Okay, so look to body language as well too. In this one, hands are in prayer. And it's very hard to keep hands in prayer when you are sleeping, right? When you are sleeping, what happens to your hands? And I really like to look at body language and gestures, because if this person were sleeping, their hands would be in a completely different place. This could, of course, be an effigy, but if it's an actual human, and we're talking about humans when we're reading the tarot, right? This person is awake. This person is in reflection, resting reflection, restoration, perhaps in recovery from some of the trauma from the previous cards or the previous aspect of their journey, okay? When we look at other Four of Swords cards, this is this is the CS Tarot by Conrad Stein, and I will, after the video, put the decks that I'm using down below in the description box. This is the Druid Craft Tarot. And in the Druid Craft, we have kind of a solemn looking face. This gesture, you know, where we rest our hand, rest our chin on our hands, and this is it's kind of a supportive stance. His elbows are up in the air, but perhaps they're resting on a tree and a rock or something, it looks like. So he's not just hanging out in midair like this. He's fully supported and in relaxation. His lower body looks relaxed. He has one sword across his lap, perhaps ready in case somebody approaches him. So there's a little bit of readiness. And I like to look to the art. So, you know, this kind of looks like a guard. There's a little bit of a guard to this quality of this Four of Swords as well, too. Okay. Concentration is another word. So concentration. This can also be a card of concentration. And what does concentration mean in yogic terms? Concentration is an early stage of meditation. So before we go into meditation, before we start to transition into liminal space, we concentrate. We stare at an object, or we close our eyes and we still the focus and we gaze at perhaps a shape or a color at the eyebrow center. So concentration is the practice of stilling the mind. And we have that quality, we have that meditative quality to both of these cards. And whether in this deck we have prayer or concentration, that's entirely up to you, the way that you want to view that. But there's open-eyed concentration for sure as well here. All right, let's go to, let's see what's happening in the Druid Craft over here. It's kind of good to compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges, because there's a lot of variations in these decks. Now let's look at what's happening here in the Druid Craft Tarot. So now the gesture is looking down. The hands are still on the face. 4 cups are in front of, actually no, there's 1 cup that's hidden over here. Okay, so there's a cup that's hidden. Why is this cup hidden? Is this an altar in a tree? There's a lot of light around this person. Did you ever notice this light here? It's almost as if this is a halo of energy. Perhaps this halo of energy is being created from the degree of concentration. I'm not sure that I have even seen this halo before. You know, sometimes when you move into meditation, how you start to feel that little bit of buzz around you. That's kind of what I'm picking up on here. So let's go back to the some basic notions here. So we have a container for water. Water is being contained, it's being stilled. The emotions are being stilled. The subconscious energy is being contained. Why would we need to contain the subconscious? Well, it could possibly be from fear. We might need to contain it, or we might need to suppress it in some way because a lot has been arising up and we don't want it to spill over. We need to contain it so we can focus on it and process what is coming up from the subconscious. The same with whether it's an emotion. Maybe there's been an experience that has happened and we're dealing with the emotions. So we need to contain the emotions. We need to control the emotions a little bit so that we can deal with it. Because if the emotions are spilling over, running over, if the emotions are out of control, it's very hard to process what it is we need to process. And so I don't see these fours as this Four of Cups as a bad thing. You know, this is a pause. This is a place and a time and a space. It's a space to process something. And what is being processed will be revealed in the surrounding cards. Okay. All right, so let's go to your comments here. And Andrew, Well-Tempered Claire, is talking about stubbornness. So an aspect of stubbornness in this card here. So this person is not willing to receive. Why is this person not willing to receive? Perhaps they are stubborn, for sure. That is definitely one way to look at that. But I think in general, just to keep that question open, you know, why? Why are you not open to receiving? And that's something, if your querent is with you, or if you're doing a reading for yourself, you can ask yourself, why do you not want another cup? And what is being offered here? Is it comfort? Because sometimes this suit can reflect comfort. It can reflect a hug. You know, it's not necessarily another emotion that you can't deal with. It can simply be love. Why are you not open to receiving love? So there's a couple of questions here. So if this card comes up, what is it that is being offered needs to be cleared up. And why are you not open to receiving it? Okay, so these are two really important questions. Hi, Lena. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages. And Lena, I want to mention, so Lena, who is in the chat with us, if you don't follow Lena on Instagram, she has a lovely, lovely Instagram account. She has such beautiful card photos that I've really been enjoying. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay. Mary Beth said, often there's a sense in the Four of Cups of ennui or boredom as a defense, perhaps. Yeah, I have a really hard time with that word boredom. You know, why do people get bored? And you often hear, with my particular situation, to me, it's, well, let's not generalize. Why do people get bored? Why do people say, I'm bored? You know, they don't know what to do. They're not comfortable with being still. They're not comfortable with quiet. And there's this need to be busy. There's a need to be active. There's a need for stimulation. And so when we remove the stimulation, some people just don't know what to do. They're so uncomfortable. It's like, you know, people often, I teach meditation and meditation skills and pre-meditation skills. And it can be really, really uncomfortable for some people to start to lean into these practices because they're not comfortable with stillness. They're not comfortable with quiet. And that's why the pre-meditation practices are so very, very important. And who does not benefit from learning to be still, learning to be quiet? We don't want to face our stuff. We don't like what arises. We don't like what arises when there's stillness. And Mary Beth makes a really good point. I mean, it's quick. It's a quick solution to say, okay, this reflects boredom. But I think boredom is it's a big word, and we need to examine what this boredom is all about. Hello to Fancy Dress 21. The Four of Cups for me comes up about rejection, and yes, not being open to something. And often it's about not matching your standards or what you want to receive. Okay, I happen to have the Ostara here. One of the students in the foundations class has asked about it. So I'm going to be coming on today and talking about this deck early in the class. Okay, so I'm not sure how quickly I can find the Four of Cups here, but thank you for that. And I'm definitely going to look to that. I wonder if it will show up fast for me here. The Ostara Tarot is not one that I pull out very often. There's few cards that I love, love, love. Love the Ace of Pentacles and some of the Pentacles in this card, in this deck. But I find it, I haven't worked with it a lot, and maybe that's one of the reasons. Anyway, the fours are not there. Let's go on. The fourth cup is not matching the theme of the other cups. So it could also be about being open to newness. Okay, yes. And open to newness, or just something, something we're not familiar with. And there is definitely discomfort when things are not familiar. Okay. Blue face. This is the Sasaribito Tarot. Really interesting use of blue in this deck. And when I look at the color blue, I'm always drawn to the mythology in the Hindu pantheon. And the whole idea about the color blue is that the toxicity is being processed by the deity. So the deity is taking on your karma, and the deity is processing the toxicity, the things that are really, really difficult for you. So it's really funny, I love doing these videos because I notice these little nuances, and I'm not sure that this blue face for me has come up in the Four of Swords before. And I love the way that this is a very protective kind of, the swords are behind, protecting the back of this person who is meditating. That's really, really cool. And here, there's something about the braid. And if any of you have any insight into the braid in the Sasaribito here, the way the braid goes around her body, it's almost as if the braid becomes an accessory. It's not strangling her by any means, but the braid, so I believe it's in Robin Wood's book. So Robin Wood talks about the hair a lot in a lot of her illustrations, because the hair is very intentional. Sometimes the hair is free, sometimes it's braided, sometimes it's up in a bun really tight, and she talks about this. And so why do we braid our hair, right? So there is a sense of control. There's a sense of neatness with that. So I don't know, I like to look at these little tiny details. Oh, you're very, very welcome. You're very, very welcome, Lena. So Lena, if you can share what your name is on Instagram, I'm happy to. Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, in the Four of Swords in Sasaribito, he seems to be sitting in Martian type place like emperor. Interesting. Yes, because the night sky is behind him. I can also, perhaps this is a chair, you know, we have different, what does this represent here in front of him? You know, we don't really know what this is. There's all kinds of mysterious things in the Sasarai too. And why is there an X here? And is this her back? I'm thinking this is her back, and she is looking over to the right. So she is looking ahead, and the cups, if you notice, if you read this way with past on the left and future on the right, the cups are behind her. Perhaps she is leaving the cups behind. The deck on the outside is the Mary L. Tarot. And I really, really like the fours in this deck. I like the space that's created with the fours. And there is very little container that's represented here. We do have a container with this factory. Perhaps it is creating this pollution. But it's this card here that really gives me pause, and this particular Four of Cups. And what I pick up with this one is the I'm not sure, somebody's guidebook somewhere talked about the emotions. You know, sometimes the water can be a gentle rain, like a summer rain, you know, very soft on the skin. Sometimes it can be, you know, the storm, the rain can range, right? We can have a light little rain. We can also have a tsunami. And depending on the degree of the movement of the water, you know, that's going to reflect the energy in the card. But the thing about this shell is I just want to listen. I want to stop, and I want to pick up the shell, and I want to listen. And what do I want to listen to? You know, I want to listen to spirit. I want to listen to spirit. I want to be quiet. And that the sense of quietness in both of these cards is really, really quite beautiful. Let's look at a few more. This is This Might Hurt. I find it quite alarming that she is sleeping, holding on to a sword. And like I was talking before in the RWS deck, it's highly unlikely that she would be able to fall into a deep sleep and hold on to that sword, right? This sword, she would let go of the sword and then it would be dropped, and that would be kind of dangerous in my humble opinion. But sometimes I look a little too closely at the cards. I love that in This Might Hurt, we see the back of the person. So we see the tree, we see the roots connected below. There's this real kind of connection above, below. It almost looks as if the branches are a mirror of the roots. And this can also be, is a lovely conversation to have with the body, right? We can talk about the crown and the root chakra. So I think this is really nice. And also, you know, we're being offered a cup of coffee here. And sometimes, you know, why do you offer somebody a cup of coffee? Why do you offer somebody a cup of coffee? Why do you have a cup of coffee with somebody? You know, why do you sit down and share a cup of tea or share a cup of coffee? It's for the connection, right? It's for the it's to connect with somebody. It's for, yeah. And sometimes you know, earlier on, Ed was talking about holding space, and I feel the quiet, and I feel that need for connection here. So the answer, there's a couple of different answers to these cards as well too. So the answer in the Three of Cups is to take the cup and to receive the connection. So that's one solution. Another solution is to move from the concentration into deep meditation. Okay. Coffee also for stimulation, to feel more awake. Yeah, of course. And yeah, I was thinking more like about the sharing of the coffee. Like, why do we Why do we do that? And or if you think about like a tea ceremony, why do we receive the tea? In the Sasarai Bito, which was right here, the ace is a cup of green tea, and there's quite a ritual to receiving that. And there's yeah. The question here today, though, is what is the difference? What are the nuances? Well, both of these cards create space. They create space for us to process something. And what is it that we are processing? So we are creating space to clear the mind, to still the mind in the Swords card, because we're dealing with the element of air. And in the Four of Cups, we're creating space to calm the emotions or to still the emotions. So that's another way that we might want to look at this. I still have Ostara in my hand. I'm going to find that card that you're talking about. This is the light. Sorry, I was going to say the Light Seers Tarot. Is that right? I think it is the Light Seers Tarot. So we really get a sense of boredom in the Four of Cups in this card. But look at on her left, that rainbow light. Also love that we have singing bowls, featured in a lot of these cards. So over on this side, we have magic. We have a message. There's also a hand down here offering this singing bowl. It's like, this feels very, very much like a traditional deck. If you think about that Ace of Cups as the hand of God, Spirit is handing us a gift. Spirit is giving us a chance to feel, to love, and to move through emotion. And, I hate to say over and over again, but we need to remember what emotion is. And emotion is the need to move energy. It's energy in motion. And if all this person has to do is perhaps just touch that singing bowl, and they would feel so differently. But I feel like when these cards come up, the querent, I want to give the querent space. I want to let the querent know that it's okay to pause. It's okay to rest. It's okay to take time to integrate. There's no rush. You don't have to deal with what you're dealing with in a hurry. So create a space, create a safe space for yourself to heal, to deal with the emotions, to process the emotions, to clear your mind. And to me, it's funny that in a traditional card, so here, this is my yoga teacher thing coming in. So when we are stilling and clearing the mind, it's easier to be sitting up. The whole process of meditation, clearing the mind, it's a lot easier to be sitting up than it is lying down. And in this card, usually the person is lying down. When we are working on calming that mental chatter, any kind of seated posture, because just of the flow of energy through the body. On the other hand, when we're dealing with emotions, it can be very hard to be in a seated posture, because as the emotions arise and the tears start to come up, and I don't know, you can start to feel the constriction in your throat and things like that. For some people, sitting up works, but when I'm working with clients who are dealing with emotions, I love to have them lie down. And especially if they're being really contained and stoic about this, because when somebody lies down, what I ask them is, where do you feel this in your body? Where is this emotion? Where is this emotion that you're suppressing? And remember, in the Four of Cups, there is an aspect of suppression. There's an aspect of that container that is restricting the emotion. Okay, so where do you feel it in your body? So my advice in the Four of Cups is to lie down. My advice in the Four of Swords is to sit up. But that's just me and the way that I teach, and I work with that. And through integrative lens, yes. So this is your Shavasana. And so Shavasana, the pose that's done at the end of the practice, or sometimes done in between postures, is a pose of integration. We need to move, we need to allow the energy that arose in a previous posture to move through us. And why it's called corpse pose, perhaps is that we need to let something go. We need to let something die, to truly die, to move through it. And in Shavasana, the hands are beside the body, facing up towards the ceiling or the sky, usually, not in prayer. So there's little subtle nuances. I didn't show you the way. This is the way home. We've been looking at this the last few weeks. And I find this one kind of challenging to read. So let's just have a look at the Light Seers Four of Swords. It's really beautiful, you know, the way that just the metaphor of the nest. The nest is such a lovely metaphor. There's little pearls. Did you notice that? There's little pearls on the red ribbon that's around her, attached to a heart. Okay, and then here we have the little ducklings in the nest. So we have a nest and a nest. And the swords create almost like a protective little gate around these little ducklings, because, you know, why are the ducklings there? Well, Mama's gone off to find some food. So they need to feel safe. And again, I want to come back full circle to some of these key words that are really important. And I think they're interesting discussions to have, you know, with yourself or with another one. And then the Four of Cups here, these four cups, these four glasses are floating above the earth. And this is very, you know, the rivers run dry. You can see how the riverbed is all parched. These glasses appear to be empty, not full. And we have darkness behind. So in this particular deck, this is quite a, it's a very moody card, you know, very, very moody. I find this one quite difficult actually to interpret. Okay, I'm going to find this four that you were talking about, because I'm very curious. This is the Ostara. So there's the Four of Pentacles. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck. I just love that Queen of Swords. Okay, if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. So here is the Four of Cups in the Ostara. And here's the Four of Swords. So thank you for mentioning this deck. And we have a very similar energy here to the one we just looked at, right? How the swords create that sense of protection. And you could really kind of look into the three above and the one below if you want to go into the numerology of that. That's kind of beautiful. And I love actually how these swords are reflecting the shape of the back. It'd be really cool if this one was turned around and it reflected the shape of the underside. And then here we have a mask. And masks to me are really important symbols. Very, very important symbols. So sometimes we don a mask for pretend. We don a mask to be something that we're not. But masks also give us courage to be more than we are, to tap deep into the, something within us. We want something within us to come out. And I just think of that Jim Carrey Mask movie. It's just so beautiful. I remember watching Bakar Wintner's video, and she described how there is abundant presence around you. Water is present in the lake, but even if you do nothing and wait, it will rain and your cup will be filled. I think this is a really beautiful consideration to close on today. Okay, I want to talk about filling your cup. Filling your cup. I come to all of my readings through the aspect of healing, of wellness. And we are very, very busy in our lives, right? We go about our lives and we come to these points where we've had enough and we need to rest. And there's something really important, and that is, if we don't let go before we rest, it's very hard for the restoration to be complete. In yoga, the process of moving the body, or if we're talking about a pranayama practice, a breath practice, there's this aspect of releasing energy, moving through karmas, moving through patterns, moving through emotions, physical toxicity within the body. We need to release, we need to let go, we need to forgive, we need to burn. And then we need to lie down or sit and restore. So to me, what filling your cup means is, after you have cried, after you have burnt through all the emotions, you've done the work, then if you lie down, then you will be completely restored and your cup will be filled. Your cup naturally will be filled because, as through Integrative Lens was saying, is that the cups naturally will, you're right here, you can see this, the cups naturally will be filled when the skies open and it rains. Okay, so I think this is really an important conversation to have as we're dealing with our own stuff in the, as we're dealing with our own stuff in the tarot, to understand the subtle nuances of the journey of healing. Yeah, and I would love to talk more about this when we come back next time and as these cards arise. So just think about that. Okay, we can't fill the cup if the cup isn't empty. It's really important to empty the cup so that we can fill it up again. And I'm not sure that that has anything to do with our card comparison today, but I think it's an important message to leave you with. So I want to thank you for being here today. And I'm going to be back at 12 noon doing live readings. So I hope to see some of you then. And then I have changed my other regular live. So if you go to my channel main page, the time is there. So it was 6 p.m. Thursday. Now it's going to be on Fridays. Fridays at, oh my goodness, it's 10 or 12. But I will put, if you subscribe and you hit the notification, that you will get a notification when the thumbnail goes up for Friday. Okay. Thanks very much for being here. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Okay. Have a lovely rest of your day. Namaste.